Welcome to the Kaizen Gal Podcast. This is your host, MC. The Kaizen Gal is a podcast about continuous improvement, building the habits to make the most out of what you already have and scale your progress in a sustainable way. Some people say, don't work harder, work smarter. Well, I believe that we can do both if we balance our time, energy, and drive well. On to today's episode. Welcome to the Kaizen Gal Podcast. This is your host. This is MC Marie-Claire. Today's topic, it is funny to me because the last few topics, the last few episodes, that I feel like I've been challenged in the purpose of the podcast, like the balance, finding the balance in time, in energy and drive. You may have listened to the previous episodes. Unexpected things happened. I got derailed. I had my finals at school. I got derailed. I had a plan. I didn't stick to the plan, and so on. So now today's topic is about me, yours truly, burning out from school. It's not necessarily school per se. It's more me burning out from going too hard at life as a whole as possible. And so my burnout is not related to my professional work. My burnout is, I think, around school, or at least school is a great illustration of how I burn out. It was basically a combination of me going intensely forward with life changes, including lifestyle, including moving from an apartment to a house, all of these things, while I was maintaining high volume semesters. High volume semesters being semesters where I had 4 classes, 5 classes, 3 classes. So I was most of the time full-time while having a full-time job, while changing jobs, while going through a pandemic. And all of this has just taken a serious toll on my motivation and my drive to do anything else than professional work. So my professional work has actually become my escape when I can totally zone out from the shackles of school, daily life, thinking about what all of these hours that I'm putting into education are, how they're going to impact my life, my projects, and so on. So professional work has been a relief to some extent because I don't have to think about where the boat is going. The executive team is doing that for me. I just have to contribute. And this is actually one of the things that I am also questioning, where sometimes I am being asked to be in leadership position, whether as a team lead, as a manager, as a project lead, and things like that. And I do shy away from these roles. And I think it happened mostly in the last 3 years. And I do think that I shy away because I'm burnt out. And what happened was basically when I hit my 30s, I thought, now is the time to do the most. For context, my 20s were shitty. So many things happened in my 20s. Like my mom passed away just before. My grandma passed away. Lots of friendships changed. Lots of things changed in my 20s. And it's only when I got to 28 that I really felt like I had a better grasp of better control, or that I was just not a victim of my circumstances anymore, but I was actually the actress of my own life. And so I really started to enjoy my 20s when I was about to exit my 20s when I was 28. And so when the 30s came, I didn't have a crisis. I didn't have the crisis of people kind of realizing that they're 30s, they're not 20 anymore, and so on. I was excited. And I was so excited that I thought, now is the time to do the most. Now is the time to catch up on all of the things that I didn't have the opportunity, i.e. the means being financial means, time. Now is the time to catch up on all of the things that I wasn't able to do before. My problem is I never stopped taking these opportunities, and it's been 3 years. now. I am run down to no end. It is funny, not funny, because it's almost as if from that like quote unquote simple statement of now is the time to do the most, I develop compulsion. Like my compulsion to, like, not even my, like compulsions, it's plural, compulsions to do things, to learn new things, to experience new things, compulsion to accumulate, not accumulate things like material things, accumulate intangible asset, accumulate experiences, accumulate knowledge, accumulate, I don't know, like friendships or relationships, not romantic relationships, purely just like friends. But it never stopped. It's almost as if I took a leap forward. And now, even though I'm tired of like just pushing and moving forward, I can't stop. And so I had a session this week with my therapist, and she asked me, what did you learn during these years? And what I learned is, with time and with that compulsion, I've become anxious. I am anxious of anything that could derail the fulfillment of the plans that my compulsions translate into. Let's say I bought a house. This is a whole story, but I bought a house. So now I have the compulsion to steward the house. It's not just like I want to care for the house. My compulsion, I find, they tend to be almost obsessive compulsions, where it's like I'm not going to lose sleep over a breakup, but I'm going to lose sleep over not having, cleaned the house because I'm not stewarding the house. Or whenever there's a slight issue with something in the house, I almost get thrown into a tiny bit of a panic where it's like, oh, I have to make a decision now, but I don't know what decision to make. I don't know. I don't have the tools. I don't have the knowledge. And so what do? I go into a rabbit hole on the internet to learn more about it. So I've become more anxious whenever something looks like it's going to be derailed, or it is going to derail a plan that I have. And I also have decision fatigue. So it's almost as if, imagine you have a decision-making tank. That decision-making tank is kind of the thing that helps you make decisions on a regular basis. And so for the past 3 years, I have made more life-changing decisions than I've done in the 10 years before that. So I emptied the tank, and I didn't quiet down. I didn't slow down enough to refill the tank. So my decision fatigue comes from that decision-making tank being completely depleted. So whenever I'm being asked to make a decision that was not planned or foreseen, I tend to retreat. I need time to process all of the scenarios. And guess what? I also get tired of all the processing. And so one of the things that I have been doing lately is I go hide in my bed, but I give it to myself as a break. So I have to make a decision. I go to my bed. I allow myself to sleep for an hour, or to just do something else for an hour and then come back to the decision that I have to make. For most people, it might be normal to do that, but for me, it has never been normal. I would make any decision in an instant. You would ask me something, I would, in my head, look at the pros and cons and make the decision on the spot. I would not dwell on decision making. I would just make the decision. And now I find myself needing to dwell because I am tired. That pros and cons on the spot is tiring. And so I'm not doing it anymore. I'm taking the time to make decisions. And so that kind of also brings me to the other question that my therapist asked me, which was, can I prevent it from happening again? And just so you know, all of this comes from just reflecting on the fact that I started seeing my therapist in 2020 after 2019, which was my 30th year. Because in 2019, as I was going through school part-time and I had a job, I decided to go to Japan and South Korea for a month. What happened? I was supposed to go to South Korea for a week and then go to Japan for 2 weeks. And then I decided to go to South Korea for 10 days and go to Japan for 3 weeks, because that compulsion to accumulate experiences had started. It had started, and then when I was in Japan, I had the best time of my life. I had the best time. I do not regret it. But looking at it now, 3 years in, I'm thinking to myself, how did you physically manage to visit in 31 days? You visited like 32 days. You visited like 13 to 14 cities across South Korea and Japan. I was basically taking a train every 2 to 3 days to a new city. I would spend 24 hours at a minimum, 60 hours at a maximum in a city, and I would move on to the next. I had a blast. I don't know how I didn't just it was such a fast pace. It's almost as if I got hooked on the adrenaline of having to catch trains and buses and things like that. And also what happened also that year was in the midst of a full-time semester this time, 6 months after, in the midst of a full-time semester, in the midst of full-time work, I decided to go to Singapore and Malaysia for 2 weeks. Mind you, I live in Montreal. Just getting there was something. I had 4 classes. I had assignments that were due. And I actually even missed one because I miscalculated the time based on Singapore time versus Eastern Standard Time. So that 2 weeks was also intense. But for some reason, I didn't feel it. It's when I talk about it to people, people are like, what the heck did you do? Like, how did you manage to do that? But I don't know, because I didn't feel the weight of that. I only felt it when 2 years in, 3 years in. So I was doing the most. I was honestly doing the most. And it's at the end of that year that I actually started seeing my therapist, because I was on January 1st, 2020. I had a cold for the first time in my life. I joke sometimes and I say I probably had COVID already, but I had a cold that I've never had a cold in my life, and I could not move. Like, I was feverish. And despite that, guess what your homegirl was trying to do? I was trying to go to the spa. I didn't know I had a fever. I just knew I didn't feel well. And I thought, okay, if I go to the spa and I go through like a steam bath, it's going to re-energize me, because I'm going to go into the peppermint steam bath. So it's going to re-energize me and so on. And when I got there, January 1st, there were too many people. They were like, you don't have a reservation. There are too many people. The wait is 2 hours. And I was like, I cannot wait 2 hours. And I went back home. When I went back home, the minute I stepped foot into my apartment, I almost fainted. I was so hot. And it's only when I talked to one of my friends who's a nurse who told me, you have a fever. Like, check your temperature. I couldn't even leave my bed to go get water. Like, I had to crawl to my kitchen, basically. And so it's after that I actually started seeing my therapist, because I recognized at that point that my compulsion, or at least my constant desire to move forward, do things, accumulate things, achieve things, learn things, I'm always looking forward to something. I'm never just like resting, fully resting. I'm resting from having done too many things, but I'm not resting as part of my lifestyle. And so as part of my compulsion right now, honestly, I don't know if I can prevent the burnout from happening again. And like I said, I've become more anxious. So even like going into a new relationship, a new romantic relationship I'm just like, I don't know. When I see people with kids or married, I don't even envy them, because I'm just like, this looks stressful. This looks so stressful. And so now what I'm doing is just I'm trying to fight the compulsion one day at a time. So I've mentioned that before, but I have Trello. I don't know if you know Trello boards. It's basically Kanban. Kanban is basically clearing up tasks based on different statuses. So let's say you may have in progress, you may have done or complete, you may have brainstorming, you may have drafts, nice to have, nice to do, things like that. Well, I have these boards for everything in my life. These are not Pinterest boards with nice pictures. These are boards with cards. Each card represents something that I want to do or that I want to achieve. And if I was to show you what's in the board for career and upskill endeavors, you would be frightened. You would be frightened because I have enough in there to last me a lifetime. Like today, if I was to go in there, everything that I have in there would take me the rest of my life to learn. But I'm only 33 years old. And on top of that, I keep adding things every other day. Whenever I feel like there's something that I don't want to forget, I write it down. I write it down in my notes. I write it down in Evernote. I write it down all over so that I don't forget it. Because again, in my idea of accumulating things, I don't want to lose things. So I don't want to lose my train of thoughts. I don't want to lose my ideas. I don't want to lose opportunities to learn. And so I'm taking notes of them. And so for me, I'm looking at it. I'm looking at these boards. They used to be my pride and joy. But now I look at them and I realize that that is my issue. Accumulating. The board for career and upscale has more than 60 cards in there. Not even like I have more than 60 cards on that. And I have 20 cards that are completed. It means that I have 60 things that I wish I could be doing because I wish I had the time or the money to do. Or that I think that if I do them, it's going to qualify me more in like professionally speaking. Or that it's going to help me launch a business, like all of these things. But I have boards for everything. I have the board for career and upscale. I have the board for school. I have a board for my travel. I have a board for my house. I have a board for my financial health. I have boards for everything. And these boards, it's almost a mapping of all of the ways that I could push myself forward, that I could move forward. And for now, like I don't know how to take one only. I would tend to take that other thing, trying to do this thing and this other thing, and then go back to being tired. Just thinking about it, I'm tired. So burnout from school, or at least around school. And also because one thing I would add to that is I was stuck. I started the program in school 3 years ago and I could just not abandon. I could not drop out of that program because I've already dropped out of a program 16 years ago. So I could not drop out. And so that's also one thing where I felt stuck, where for the last 2 semesters, because I'm finishing now, I'm like, I have one last class and I'm done. But for the last 2 semesters, I have been dragging, not just dragging myself, dragging my brain, dragging my thoughts, dragging every single thing that I have, any drop of energy to try and just be a tiny bit focused on in these classes, to just complete, just be done. That was my focus. You have to be done. You have to be done. You have to be done. Because I was tired and I'm still tired. So that's also one thing that didn't help, just not being able to take a break. I mean, I could have taken a break, to be honest. I could have just like stopped it for a year and come back to it, but I didn't want to. I wanted to finish it, okay? That was a matter of just also kind of redeeming myself from dropping out of that program 16 years ago. I know it doesn't make any sense, but yes, that's what I wanted to do. And so I was stuck in school. So that's why my burnout was kind of anchored on school, because that was the only thing that I could not just get rid of, postpone, and things like that. That was the one thing that kind of changed me and that I had to see through until the end. And now I am stopping. My main thing at the moment is self-reflection. And what it means for me as a Christian is asking God what's driving that compulsion. What is it that I am trying to prevent through these compulsions to do things, to accumulate, to learn? What is it that I'm always trying to equip myself some more? To do what? For what reason? These are really the questions that I'm asking myself. Because if I am to start another program, let's say in school, just saying that I'm shivering, but like starting something, I want to make sure that it aligns with what I want to do in life. But not only aligns with that, because my boards don't align, but I have to discern what is it that is deeply to my core aligned with what I'm meant to do. So that's my main thing, trying to just do nothing, which is a fight. I'm not going to lie. I feel like life is passing me by and I basically am slowing down, or I just stopped. But I want to do some God searching, not even God searching because he's never running away from us. It's us running away from him, but trying to quiet down my racing thoughts and my agitated spirit so that I can listen to what God's been trying to say, to tell me for the past 3 years. Maybe I'm approaching the mid-30 crisis. I don't know. But that is really my goal. So for anyone who's listening and who is going through a burnout or who thinks that they are always tired, you have to recognize the things that you are doing that are taking a lot of your energy. In my case, it was school. School was abnormally taking more energy than any other thing that I was doing. So you have to recognize what is that thing that you are doing at the moment that is somehow draining you more than usual. And then look at, can you afford, or do you want to afford to stop it, postpone it? Or can you reshuffle the rest of your agenda, schedule, so that you keep the maximum amount of energy for that specific activity that is draining you? That's what I did that enabled me to push through. I basically looked at all of the things that I had on my boards, on my schedule, and I would clear things up because I knew that in the time that I had to dedicate to school, it would take me much more energy that it would actually warrant, just because it was a mental drain for me. So you want to look at that one thing or these several things that you were doing that may be draining you. How do you feel when you do them? Do you wish you could stop any day? Like all of these things, and make decisions for these actions, these activities. Can you actually postpone, or can you just reshuffle the things around that? Let's say, like me, you feel like you were stuck in school, but you can't stop school. What is it around school that you can stop, that you can reshuffle? What is it that you want to prioritize? What are the activities you want to prioritize that are going to increase your energy, that are going to increase your drive, your motivation, that are going to make you feel better? So that when you get to that action, that activity that you were doing that's draining, well, you're not going to be as drained, but you have to prioritize. I guess for me, going through burnout taught me that I have to prioritize. I cannot be doing all of the things. I cannot be going as hard to life as I was. I have to prioritize, and I have to prioritize based on what's important. And sometimes it means that fun stuff are going to be deprioritized, and so that I can focus my energy on what I need to accomplish, and then also question what is it that you need to do based on your vision for yourself. So right now, even though I'm not doing anything, and I know that part of me is anxious about not doing anything, but I know that even me not doing anything does not mean that nothing is happening. A few things that I've set up in motion in my life, they keep running in the background. Like I don't have to take care of them, but I basically am not doing anything new. And so it's not because I'm not doing anything that my life is like kind of not moving. I know it's moving. I know I'm accomplishing things. It's just that compulsion to just do the most that I'm fighting. That's it for me today. I hope you found that episode helpful and insightful. If you have questions or topics you'd like me to address, email me at the email address in the description box. And last but not least, leave your 5-star review anywhere you are listening. It really encourages me. I wish you, wherever you are, to be well, and I will talk to you next time.